Well, this is a big old gamer. It's heavy. And it looks like there's 1, 2, 3 hard drives. CD there. Power supply is still in place. Board. This should be a pretty interesting scrap. Plus, all of this is the cooling system. So, come on. Let's dive in. Look, it's clean. There's no critters. This is going to be fun. I don't have to worry about getting attacked or bit or anything like that. All right, so we have this is interesting because it's a water-cooled system. And it really was funny because the first time I ever heard of water cooling in electronics was supercomputers when I was in the Navy. I remember the first time I was told that they were using water cooling, and to me that just didn't make sense. Sensitive electronics with water cooling. Then I got educated and then I understood, but you know, the first time I heard about it, I was thinking to myself, that's just a bad thing. That's an accident waiting to happen. All right, let's see here. I'm getting stuff out of the way. I've never had one of these before. Never had a water-cooled system before. All right, these are going down to the heat exchanger for the CPU. This hose is going over, cut off. That's where that one is going. It's cut off. Let's see, what do we got here? This one is also cut off. Let's get you out of the way. These are some really cool heat exchangers. So there were 2 of them in here. I broke them open already. You can see that we've got a nice copper plate that was on the base of it. The main body is a cast aluminum. And then we've got some brass fittings and some stainless steel hardware that was used to clamp down the hoses. Oh, very cool. I'm enjoying this scrap. That looks like that's a reservoir. So how many of y'all have ever had a water-cooled system? That should be interesting to see. That'll tell us who the serious folks were, I guess. This thing had, what would that have been? Would that have been for off-gassing? Is that what that is? Or an expansion tank, maybe? There's another water reservoir there. Man, oh man, oh man. Trying to get this stuff taken apart. It's all intertwined with things. I tell you, I'm not worried about getting stuff wet or reusing any of this stuff, so let's just cut some things out of the way. What do you say? Boy, howdy. There's just a lot of stuff in here. All right, let's get you out of here too. Clunk, sorry, didn't mean to clunk y'all. Get these hard drives disconnected. I think this hard drive caddy wants to come out. Hard drive caddy wants to come out. Hey, that could be a song. Hard drive caddy. Hard drive caddy, better get your mode. Oh, I better not go there. That might get me in trouble. something Velcro glued onto the, that probably is the pump. That looks very pumpish. And I'm trying to keep the pump, I don't want to cut the pump stuff if I don't have to, because there might be something to resell there. You know, I don't know. Until I investigate it, I don't know if there's any resale value in these pumps. So I don't want to ruin a pump that might have the potential to get resold. Tubes can always be fixed or replaced, but wires become a little more complicated. Of course, now I'm just making a mess here. Workbench is going to get nice and cleaned up because I've got all this water spilled all over the place. And I'm wondering if that's just straight water or if there's like an antifreeze component to it as well. After I shot the video, I went and did some more research on liquid cooled PCs, gamers and such, and confirmed that yes, they do use a coolant. It is probably a propanediol anyway, type glycol solution. It's interesting because the solutions, when I looked into, you know, their properties and stuff, they talk about reducing corrosion on the various metal compound or metal things that they're coming in contact with, reducing scale buildup from hard water, and that glycol. Funny enough, it's also used in things like cosmetics and foods and lubricants and drugs. So, you know, that's kind of an interesting set of compounds there. All right, so anyway, let's get back to the scrap here. Okay, now this has still got liquid. It's a reservoir cooling, a heat exchanger. Oh, this is the radiator. I can see it underneath of there. So I'm going to get this out of here too, because there's still some stuff dribbling out of here. Got screws on the back. And we have some here. I don't know if these are... see here now. That should just come down. Yeah. Get the slot cards disconnected. That's a knob for that knob. The wire went over to the power supply for the cooler, so that was probably to crank up the cooler if it wasn't cooling enough. And that's power going to the cooler of some sort, the fan maybe. And you're going into this one. Get you disconnected from there. Okay. Then we set you aside in the bucket as well. Boy, I'm looking forward to all the comments about this cooling system from those of you that have built or use these cooling system computers. Could be kind of interesting. All right, now let's see, what do we got? Slot card. Had a whole lot of the hard drive connectors going in here. These cables were connected to the hard drives. They're going in here, so this is a some sort of ganging processor, maybe. In any event, it's going to make a nice gold finger card for Chris at board sort. Okay, so these can go with my number 2 insulated wire. If you are one of those folks that likes to refine, then these can come off for the gold connectors inside of there. If you are close enough to board sort, you can also sell these to board sort. I think they're $1 a pound. My shipping is $1 a pound on average, so for me, it's not worth it. Not getting anything for it. Whereas my local yard will pay me 41 cents a pound for the wire. And they don't care if I leave the ends on there. Alarm temperature. So this was all part of the heat system. So this would have let you know if the computer was getting too hot. If the CPU maybe was connected directly to a thermal sensor on the CPU or something of that nature. I don't expect there's going to be much of a board in there, but we're going to take a look. We have a lot of... The power supply I'm thinking might have some resale value in it, so I'm being more careful with cords for the power supply than I might otherwise be. Let's go ahead and see if we can get that out, just so we know what we're dealing with. All right. Power supply. Wow, it sure is a nice looking power supply. And the cords, the cables all plug into the power supply. And we've got that brace is in the way. Let's tip this up, take off that other side panel. I have a feeling that's what I need to do in order to get to the power supply. Get back here. I might want you still. Now let's check. See if that's aluminum. Yes, so this is aluminum. The frame, the body is aluminum. So you do want to check that when you're dealing with gamers, because frequently the gamer shells are aluminum. All right, so we get that out of the way. And let's see if we can Now get the power supply out the way. I'm normally not so careful with these cables because normally I'm just cutting them off. But in this case, I might be reselling this. So I'm trying to be careful with these cables and this power supply. I might have to take them off. I'm going to take the cables off. Again, I want to be careful with them. I don't want to just toss them. I know some of you are saying to yourself, holy cow, I can't believe the shark is being that careful with cables and such. Normally I'm just cutting these bad boys, but that's because there is some... If this is this looks like this could be a decent power supply, and if I am going to resell this as a power supply, people are going to want the cables that came with it. I'm sure they can find cables too, but there's no reason to have that be an issue. Well, this is just annoying. That's in the way, or that's in the way. Let's see if we can get that out of there. Let's see, now that's out of the way. If we can now get this power supply out. There we go. All right. Now, that's heavy. All right, let's see what we're dealing with. See if this was worth it. 1,000 watt ATX power supply. Yep, I'd say that was worth the effort. It's in pretty good shape. It's a little dusty. So, the only real problem that we have is we don't have the power cable, but I have lots of cables that should suffice. So we're going to take all of these guys and this, we're going to put it up here. And I'm going to put those in a little bag so that I know they all came off of that power supply. All right then, let's get this board out of here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 RAM sticks here. Take a look at those real quick. The gamer. So I'm kind of thinking that these are going to be good, pretty good RAM. Let's see. Corsair, XMS2, DDR2. 800 megahertz, 1024 megabytes. Got some brass standoffs in here. Torx heads holding down the cooler, the heat exchange cooler. Let's get the battery off before I slip up and forget that. All right, now those are Phillips heads there, so let's see what that reveals. This may be how we get to the CPU easily. Yep, that revealed the CPU. There's a nice piece of copper there for this heat exchanger. So you would have had all the water coming down, it would have picked up the energy from the heat exchanger, taken the water out to the... picked up the energy from this copper heatsink and then taken it out to that radiator. I'm going to chuck that in there for right now with the rest of those components. Now, just a pinned CPU. For my yard, this is just going to be a mid-grade board. So I'm going to go ahead and do some depopulating on this. There are some things that I can take off and my yard will still buy it as a mid-grade board. So this heat transfer system can definitely come off. It has a copper sheen to it, a copper color to it, but that might just be coloring on aluminum. We won't know until we, because you can see that copper color is different than this, but until we get it off of here and scratch test it, we won't know for sure. That's interesting. Broke that right off of the... Come on. All right, now. Ferrous. No magnetic. So there's white shining through there. That's going to be aluminum. Yep, aluminum. That's aluminum. That's aluminum. That's copper. So we have the copper tubes running through aluminum heat sinks. So this is easily a copper aluminum radiator. The other things that you can do, and what I'm going to go ahead and do is, looks like those will peel off pretty easily. So I'm going to cut you here and here, and then that should peel off of those fins pretty easily. Those go all the way through, so that's going to be annoying. So let's cut that there. Cut you there. So that's copper aluminum radiator. That can go in that bucket. Ugh. You're an aluminum fin. You are going there with that. This is probably, yeah, this is aluminum. See the white right there? So these guys are aluminum. So this can go in with my copper aluminum radiators. That's just number 2 copper. This, we will see how easily this comes off of the aluminum. There we go. Number 2 copper. That's going to be sheet aluminum, number 2 copper. So we have a little bit of sheet aluminum. We have some number 2 copper. For my yard, mid-grade, and for board sort, small socket colored. All right. Now then, we have a few more goodies to get off of here, like the CD-ROMs, fans. Let's take a look at those hard drives. You all have seen me do things like brass risers. Here's brass riser, right? So we'll get those off of here. You've seen me do those before, so I won't waste your time on that. I do want to take a look at the hard drive, and real quick, let's bust into one of these. Right, so there's a little bit of wire in here. That's a little speaker. That was what would buzz to tell you that you had an over temperature alarm. Ooh, tiny little screws there. Let's see if my small bit will deal with that properly. Yes. I'm not expecting much here, and I'm glad I wasn't expecting too much. Indium tin oxide on this LCD screen, if you are a collector. Now, I'm going to show you this because I don't think I've ever shown this before. I have this box that I'm collecting indium LCD screens because they have indium tin oxide. It just goes in there. I haven't found a buyer yet. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a buyer, but there are times when it's really easy to just get the LCD screen off and set it aside. If I don't get a buyer, no big deal. If I do, well then I have saved some of it up. All right, so this board has a lot of gold Enig on it, but not much in the way of components. We have a capacitor. There's going to be a chip underneath of that dollop. So that's going to be a mid-grade board. Unless you are someone like Scrapping Irish, who loves to go after all this kind of stuff. Okay, hard drives. Let's take a look at these hard drives. See what we got. How do you guys want to come out of here? Anyway, see. See. Now, this metal caddy will go back in the shell after I take the fan off of there. So we have a 250 gigabyte to 250. So these are old Seagate 250s. These are going to be high-grade hard drive boards. They have IDE pins, so that makes them high-grade hard drive boards for board sort. So we'll pull those off, put them with the hard drive pins. Excuse me, the hard drive boards, then hard drives, no pins. The fan. Now you have a small electric motor. Into the bucket of small electric motors. You'd be surprised how fast that bucket can fill up. I suspect that just like me, some of you were curious about the heat exchanging thing that came off of the back of that gamer. Now I've already taken the fan off and disassembled the unit. This is a sheet aluminum that was running along the back, and over here where we had the slot cards, there were these copper grounding straps, so that's kind of cool. Then we had this metal frame here, that's just tin, that was holding this little tiny copper aluminum radiator. I mean, just like you would have on a car or an AC unit. These are brass connectors. This is a nice brass connector here. You've got the copper tubes and the copper noodles, just like you would have on any standard radiator. Now the pump, I'm not going to disassemble the pump. I'm going to hang on to that the way it is. I've still got the cord and everything attached to it, and we'll see if there's any market value for that on eBay. There were also quite a few of these stainless steel thread connector rings that I took off, and a few more brass connectors. All right, let's see what's inside of here. Got another little board. It's just a low-grade power board. Nothing exciting about that. A special shout out to my first 3 patrons on the new Patreon, and these guys came in at the whale shark level. Roger Adams, you know him as CU Scrapping, Jay Wilson, and Elliot Teeters. Thanks a lot. I hope you are enjoying the content and the volley action. Remember, if you want to be a part of our 2 for 22 campaign, go ahead and check out my Patreon page. The link is down in the description. You can also still donate through PayPal, paypal.me/. Shark Scrapper. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.